The hunt for Sawaido continued and concluded, but not before some hellish training in where we see Yuhi and Eugeos strengthen their friendship during those wacky, crazy segments. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we're here to talk about episode 11 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush anime series. Overall, a great episode, and yes, we had some silly comedy at the start before ending on a more serious and darker climactic note, as we set up for Eugeos versus Sawaido. Now, the episode wasn't all comedy at the start, however, as we cleared up the aftermath of episode 10. Eugeos is massively bandaged up after taking that brutal attack from Meeg-chan, which took physical damage. And seeing that visual of Eugeos in bed with all the bandages was actually quite terrifying, because again, if a human took that damage, what would they be like if an alien with super strength like Eugeos has is in that condition? Plus, we also see Chubutaro still in an unstable condition thanks to the effects of using the Earth Damar in episode 10. But before we dive into the episode, I want to address a theory about this series taking place in an alternative universe. After all, in this episode we see Mutsuba Tower, which looks very much like Gohar Tower from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. So could this show actually take place in a universe where instead of Gohar taking all of the credit and power after the city was co-built alongside the Mutsuba family, it was instead the Mutsubas that fell into power, and things didn't go quite to plan or smoothly, hence to why the tower looks kind of broken down and not used by anybody. And of course we now know Mutsuba is only a small town, not a city. And to add on to this idea, what if the higher-ups at MIK are related to the Gohar family? And this helps to show why they have so much money and so much power, and also why they have the last say when it comes to threatening aliens that come to Earth. Anyways, little sidewalk done, let's talk about the Hellish Training, as it certainly helped to showcase Eugeos and Yuhi's growth in terms of their friendship growing ever closer, making it also a fun watch in the process. The PopUp Pirate segment with Eugeos, where he was in the barrel, took me back to my childhood, as I used to play the game PopUp Pirate when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. So seeing this and understanding that reference, it got a reaction out of me. The dodgeballs and the Bathtub Skits, they were okay, but come on, really? That cheesy bro moment between Yuhi and Eugeos with the electric wired wrestling ring, that was something else, and that did genuinely make me chuckle. The hellish training segments and this episode in general also helped to make me fall more in love with Manya's character. Having the skills and forward thinking to cover up Meeg-chan's stuff about lying, saying it was a cosplayer, was genius. I liked that idea. Her setting up this hellish training camp, however, after lying about doing it herself, it just plays to her pranking personality. And I loved it. And just like Mimi, I think Manya will overall be amongst my favourite characters within Go Rush once everything is said and done. The whole disguise and changing her voice gimmick throughout the hellish training segments though might have been a reference to another show, but I don't know. To me, it kind of just felt like she had been like a movie director and kind of just getting in that particular role. But if it's something different, then let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what that actually was a reference to. Now, of course, I have just mentioned that Manya was rather prankish. She was rather mischievous in this episode. But she was also rather kind as well, as she knows that Eugeos finds rush dueling important. And of course, she does make those training tapes. So her actually appearing and helping and wanting to train Eugeos, even if it was a bit of a joke, is actually a really nice and sweet thing for her to do, and it just makes the character even more wholesome. Now, as for Eugeos, this episode gave him a lot of focus and really laid out his development plans for the future. For Eugeos, his plan is not to overpower Sawaido, but rather connect and change the ideals that Sawaido holds in his mind. Eugeos admits that he is weaker and less smarter than Sawaido, but still he wants to try and connect and save his friend, which I find quite admirable. Eugeos learned that dueling isn't just about skill, but also it's a psychological battle that's involved. and this will be useful in the duel against Sawaido, because no doubt about it, Sawaido is probably going to try and get into our hero's mind, and maybe persuade Eugeos to change his ideals instead. So that kind of makes those Hellish Training segments / gags useful in a weird way, because Manya was training Eugeos' mental concentration. Yeah. Who would have thought? Also, Eugeos returning to the basics isn't that absurd, as we know that Eugeos is new to rush dueling, and as far as we know, at this moment in time, there are no other dueling formats that exist within the universe of Go Rush. Eugeos, this might be his first efforts in truly learning to duel, so him going back to the basics and trying to hone his skills that way is quite a smart decision. Plus, we now know how important dueling is to him, as in episode 10 he didn't sway for his ideals in using rush duels for good. But also in this episode, he did want to use that guide CD as a way of comforting himself during his injury recovery. And yeah, it's kind of sweet when you think about it like that. He's found something important to himself that he wants to cling on to and he wants to use in a positive way. Good on you, Eugeos. Okay, so let's talk about Manabu and MIK, as Manabu looked like he wanted to help Eugeos and the group, and in a weird roundabout way, by indirectly saying, "You're not ready, stay out of this," he kinda did, because he told Eugeos not to do anything. Also, just giving the group that information about the punishment of cryostasis given to A+ rank threatened aliens is also an important factor, because it tells them, look, find Sawaido before I do, otherwise you're going to have no chance of saving him, but I can't not look for Sawaido because that's my job. So why is this knowledge about cryostasis so important? Well, it does make you wonder why the higher-ups at MIK want those aliens in cryostasis. Because why freeze them unless you're going to do something with them? Something like experimentation. Or maybe they've got deals with other planets in where if they get threatening aliens, then they're going to sell them to that planet. Maybe if that's the case, we're going to get like an arc where we see like a dueling coliseum with loads of like deadly strong aliens dueling each other for their freedom. And that would be pretty awesome. It's a good bit of lore as well that we get given for MIK as an organisation, giving us that sneak peek into this group of people. Now finally, the topic of Sawaido. With this character, I thought his introduction was awesome. His glare at the end and that music gave him the big bad boss sort of vibe and tone about it. You felt a slight uneasiness when Sawaido descended from that, I think, crane. Now after the duel of Eugeos and Sawaido concludes, I do not want to see Sawaido completely change his views and goals, thus becoming a super friendly type of character. Instead, I kind of want the show to do what the Reigns series did with Revolver. Yes, they're different studios, so they might not. But having Sawaido act like this anti-hero that's on good terms with our protagonists, but not super happy-go-lucky and always with them, I think will fit Sawaido's kind of tone and design. Either way though, I'm excited for this duel between the two Vargalians, and whatever happens, I just know one thing is for sure. Sawaido's Ace Monster, when it arrives, is going to be insane. Whether it's just a hologram, or whether it's Earth Damar infused and brought to life. Well, that about does it for me on this review. Overall, I had a great time watching this episode. It was a load of fun, and I liked the cliffhanger. I mentioned earlier on about how the showcasing of Eugeos and Yuhi's friendship was shown in the episode. But also, I didn't talk about Yuumu and Manya's friendship and how they are in sync with each other, with Yuumu knowing that Manya was just teasing Eugeos, as Yuumu showed off her cheeky smile as well. So yeah, great times, great times. So let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have, hit the like button, comment your thoughts, subscribe so you never miss a video from myself and for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Have a great day. Arigato, matane, goodbye.